All right, let's dive into a story that honestly changed everything. We're talking about a king, a kingdom, and history itself. It all starts with what seems like a simple, really noble plan from a king who's at the absolute peak of his power. But it ends with a divine plot twist that, trust me, no one saw coming. So, at its heart, this whole story comes down to two very different ideas of what the word house means. You've got a king who wants to build a physical home for God, with walls and a roof, but God comes back with his own plan to build an eternal royal family for that king. And this one conversation is going to redefine what God's promise means for generations. Okay, so let's set the scene. We've got King David, and after years and years of war and just struggling, he's finally at peace. His enemies are defeated, the kingdom is secure, and he's living in this absolutely magnificent palace. Now, what's really interesting here is that a house of cedar wasn't just some fancy building. In the ancient world, cedar wood meant permanence. It meant wealth, it meant power. It was like a king planting a flag and saying, "I'm here to stay." But as David is sitting there in this symbol of his own security, he feels like something is, well, off. He says this to the prophet Nathan, and you can almost feel the weight in his words. He's basically saying, how can I be living in this permanent, luxurious palace while the very symbol of God's presence, the ark, is still in a temporary tent? On the surface, it sounds amazing, right? A totally noble and pious thing to want. He wants to give God the absolute best. And at first, Nathan the prophet thinks this is a fantastic idea. He tells David, hey, whatever you have in mind, go for it. God is with you. It seems like a done deal, a total green light. But then, the story takes a huge turn. That very same night, God steps in with a completely different message. You'd think the answer would be an obvious yes, wouldn't you? I mean, a powerful king, finally at peace, wants to use his wealth and resources to build an incredible temple for God. It seems like the perfect plan, maybe the ultimate act of worship. But that is not what happens. And boom, there it is, a direct, no-nonsense refusal. This is the moment the whole story pivots. And notice, it's not just a no, it's a no, you are not the one. So this isn't God rejecting the idea of a temple altogether, but it's a rejection of David's role in it, and it comes with a pretty powerful explanation. God basically reminds David of their history together. He says, I've been on the move from tent to tent, and in all that time, moving with all the Israelites, did I ever once say to anyone, hey, why haven't you built me a house of cedar? And that's the crucial point. God's presence was never meant to be static, to be locked down in a building. He was always mobile, living among his people, sharing their journey. This permanent house, that was David's idea, not his. And this is what leads us to the story's brilliant reversal. God rejects David's plan to build him a physical house because God is about to announce his own construction project, to build a metaphorical house for David. And this is where everything changes. And here is the brilliant wordplay that's right at the heart of this whole thing. See, David was thinking of a house made of stone and cedar, a building. But God was thinking of a house as in a dynasty, a royal family, a lineage. God is essentially saying, you want to build a house to make my name great? Instead, I'm going to build your house to make your name great, and I'm going to do it forever. So God lays out this promise, what later becomes known as the Davidic covenant, and it's just staggering. It starts with David's son, his direct offspring, who will succeed him and, yes, be the one to build the physical temple. But then the promise just explodes in scale. That son's throne will be established forever. And then ultimately, David's family line will be set over God's own kingdom forever. The scope of this is just mind-blowing. So how does David, this mighty king who just got his grand plan totally rejected, respond to this overwhelming promise? He doesn't argue. He doesn't get upset. Instead, he is just completely humbled. He goes from being this ambitious king to just an awestruck servant. I mean, seriously, what do you even say to that? David's prayer isn't him asking for more things. It's really just a stunned reaction. It's him trying to process the sheer scale of the grace he's just been shown. This right here, this is the heart of his response. It's just pure humility. You have to remember, this guy was a shepherd boy, the youngest of his brothers, and now he's a king, being promised an eternal dynasty. He's just overwhelmed, and he recognizes that none of this was his own doing. And this is how he wraps it up. is just a simple, powerful declaration of faith. He completely accepts the promise. He understands that this incredible future for his house is a gift, planned and guaranteed by God and God alone. So, why does this one conversation from thousands of years ago still matter so much? It's because this incredible promise, this Davidic covenant we just saw laid out, becomes a central thread that's woven through the rest of the biblical story, and really all of history. So what's the ultimate takeaway here? Well, first, God's vision was always way bigger than just a building. The whole story pivots from being about a place to being about a person and a royal family line. And this covenant creates this unconditional, everlasting promise of leadership for Israel, which becomes this powerful theme of hope that echoes for centuries. And that really brings us to our final thought. David ends his prayer saying that because God has blessed his house, it will be blessed forever. So it leaves us with this huge question to think about. In a world where everything seems so temporary, what does it truly mean for a promise, a legacy, or a house to last forever?